federal workers the option to resign immediately. There are 50,000 FAA employees. Does this tragedy give you reason to reconsider that option of resignations because of concerns about staffing issues, airline safety?
If people aren't coming to work, if they're not going to come into the office and report as per the date that you know what it is, everybody knows what the date is, it's been very well documented, then they're going to be terminated.
So you're not concerned though that if many people take that offer, there could be shortages that could lead to...
They'll be replaced with very competent people. We have a lot of competent people in this country.
Have you spoken to any of the families of the victims of the plane crash?
I don't want to comment on that.
Do you have a plan to go visit the site or meet with any of them?
I have a plan to visit, not the site, because what did you tell me? What's the site? The water?
Or to meet with the first
swimming?
responders down there?
I don't have a plan to do that, but I will be meeting with some people that were very badly hurt with their family member, obviously, but I'll be meeting with some of the families, yeah.
On birthright citizenship, sir, do you believe that there are 5 votes in a Supreme Court that would uphold your position?
On what?
5 votes on a Supreme Court
What
for
position?
birthright citizenship.
I think so, yeah. Look, birthright citizenship was, if you look back when this was
Madonna Estates
made, that was meant for the children of slaves. This was not meant for the whole world to come in and pile into the United States of America. Everybody coming in and totally unqualified people with perhaps unqualified children. This wasn't meant for that. This was meant, when it was originally done, for the children of slaves. And that was a very good and noble thing to do, and I'm in favor of that 100%. But it wasn't meant for the entire world to occupy the United States.
So you don't see it requiring a constitutional amendment that would be...
I just think that we'll end up winning that court in the Supreme Court. I think we're going to win that case, and I look forward to winning it. This has been going on. We're at that level. We're the only country in the world that does this. There's no other country at this level. There's no other country in the world that does it. It's crazy.
Mr. President, if you have 64 people lost their lives last night, if you aren't confident that DEI had any role, why bring it up?
Well, all I'm talking about is competence, and we want in that particular position, we have to have the most competent people in our country because we're talking about lives. Now, it may or may not have had to do, but I don't like the fact that the helicopter was at the exact same level as the airplane. The helicopter should have been 1,000 feet or 500 feet above it or something below it. The plane was at 300 to 400 feet, or the plane should have been stopped because the helicopter could have stopped. The plane can't be stopped, but the plane was on a schedule that was, it was along a track. They call it a track. And it's the same track that every other plane's used for many years. It was going down and landing. And the helicopter got
First
in its
Baptist
way.
Church in Cold
And
Springs,
if the
Kentucky.
helicopter was higher or lower or stopped or turning left or turning right at a quicker time. I mean, it turned, but it turned when it was too late. A tragic story. So, I don't know, do you blame it on the air traffic controller too, in addition to the pilots? Maybe the pilot's fault, they should have seen it. I would have thought they should have seen it. Because it was a plane that was loaded up with lights and everybody, you can see it from Kennedy Center, you can see it very easily. So all I want is the most competent people in our country to be air traffic controllers. It's a very important position, and other positions too, by the way. We're not only talking about that, we're talking, but air traffic controllers maybe in particular. They have to be brilliant with computers, brilliant with graphics. They have to be psychologically really, really smart. And, there are a lot of people that wouldn't be able to do that.
Tariffs on Canada, Mexico, 25%. That's coming on Saturday.
That's coming on the 1st, Saturday.
But no oil tariff, no oil tariffs.
No, I don't. Well, I didn't say that. You said that. No.
I don't want to
No, we may or may not. We're going to make that determination probably tonight on oil. Yeah, because they send us oil. We'll see. It depends on what the price is. If the oil is properly priced, if they treat us properly, which they don't. Look, Mexico and Canada have never been good to us on trade. They've treated us very unfairly on trade. And we will be able to make that up very quickly because we don't need the products that they have. We have all the oil you need. We have all the trees you need, meaning the lumber. we have more than almost anybody in those two categories. In oil, we have more than anybody, and we don't need anybody's trees. We have to free up some of the tree areas that we have. We have great lumber in this country. We have to free them up environmentally, which I can do very quickly. But we don't need what they have. And for us to be subsidizing Canada to the tune of $175 billion a year and subsidizing Mexico to the tune of $250 billion, $300 billion a year, and Mexico is a method of China sending in its product. And with China, I'm also thinking about something because they're sending fentanyl into our country, and because of that, they're causing us hundreds of thousands of deaths. So China is going to end up paying a tariff also for that, and we're in the process of doing that. We'll make that determination of what it's going to be, but China has to stop sending fentanyl into our country and killing our people.
Mr. President, Israeli media has reported that conversations between Netanyahu's government and the White House has signaled that the U.S. may be about to pull its troops out of Syria. Have you made a decision to
I don't know who said that. I don't know who said that, but we'll make a determination on that. We're not involved in Syria. Syria's its own mess. They got enough messes over there. They don't need us involved in everyone.
Was there a shortage of staff at the control tower at DCA last night? You're aware of?
Well, that's part of competence right there. They shouldn't have that happen. Right there is what I'm talking about. Competence would be you're not going to have a shortage, but if you had the right people, you wouldn't need as many people either.
Do you know if there was a shortage last night or not?
I don't know. No, I don't know. You're telling me something.
Mr. President, you said earlier today that you had not spoken to Putin about this. When was the last time you spoke with him, and has President Xi responded to your ask to help put pressure to end the war in Ukraine?
I won't comment on either of them, but we're doing very well with regard to both.
There are some reports that Xi might ask of you in order to give that help, pressure to disavow potential Taiwan independence. Is that something that you would ever do?
We never discussed it.
You had said earlier that we would get more details about the victims on the plane. Can you give more on that now?
I have a lot of details, but it's something that'll be released to you also at the appropriate time. No, I have the full details.
There were a lot of young people
Young people, great athletes, great skaters. Very sad situation from numerous countries. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
You just watched President Trump answer questions, wide-ranging, unscripted questions from the press while signing more executive orders. He also discussed in that conversation with the press the border, fentanyl, tariffs on Mexico and Canada, and a range of other issues. He also addressed the tragic plane crash in D.C. Right now, recovery efforts continue as America faces its first major airline disaster in 15 years. A military helicopter colliding with a commercial aircraft over D.C. last night. Everyone is presumed dead. We're going to show you video from the moment of impact. A warning, it can be tough to watch. You see the explosion as the Black Hawk helicopter hits the American Flight 5342. President Trump addressing the American people earlier today.
This was a dark and excruciating night in our nation's capital, then in our nation's history, and a tragedy of terrible proportions. As one nation, we grieve for every precious soul that has been taken from us so suddenly, and we are a country of, really, we are in mourning.
We will have a live update in a minute. But amid the breaking news, we've also been watching three very important confirmation hearings this afternoon. FBI Director nominee Kash Patel, Director of National Intelligence nominee Tulsi Gabbard, and day two for HHS nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Do you think America is safer because President Trump issued these pardons to 1,600 of these criminal defendants, many of whom violently assaulted our police in the Capitol?
Senator, America will be safe when we don't have 200,000 drug overdoses in 2 years.
If President Trump orders you to withhold appropriated funds from the Inspector General, will you refuse that illegal order?
I don't believe for a second President Trump would ask me to do something that would break the law.
If confirmed, in terms of
making America healthy again? Will you stand up to the White House and say, no, we cannot throw millions of children off of health care, millions of elderly people out of nursing homes. We cannot cut Medicaid to give tax breaks to billionaires.
President Trump has made no indication to me that he intends to throw millions of people out of nursing home or deprive people of their health care, Senator. We have a health care system that's broken. It's not working. You've been working on it your entire career. As Americans get less and less healthier.
Absurd questions, but reasonable
Well, you
answers.
put it to them.
We're going to have more from those hearings coming up. But first, we start with the investigation into the tragic plane crash in D.C. Griff Jenkins joins us from Reagan National Airport. Griff.
Will, this has moved entirely into a recovery mission, and the worst air crash really in a generation. 67 lives total to be lost. And Will, standing here at the airport at Reagan, where flights have resumed, we can stare out of a window at the end of runway 53, and it's chilling to see planes taking off and looking at the side where this tragedy happened just before 9. Let's take a look. We've got an animated map for our viewers to understand. You saw just before 9 the American Airlines flight 5342, a regional jet approaching from the south just moments before landing finally at runway 33 that I mentioned there, and then coming out of the north heading south, the Army Black Hawk helicopter colliding there over the Potomac just outside the window where we are staring. Now the NTSB held a press conference here a little bit, and they're going to talk more as we get updates. One of the things they talked about, though, Will, is the unique environment that we have with these helicopters, the military operating around commercial airlines, and Defense Secretary Hegseth talking about the DOD's investigation into this as well. Listen.
There was some sort of an elevation issue that we have immediately begun investigating at the DOD and Army level. Army CID is on the ground investigating. Top tier aviation assets inside the DOD are investigating, sir, to get to the bottom of it so that it does not happen again, because it's absolutely unacceptable.
And Will, Secretary Hegseth says this crew, three members, were very experienced in doing a routine mission, although obviously what the NTSB wants most right now are those flight data recorders or black boxes, and it appears they haven't been found yet. Listen.
We have not recovered the flight data recorders yet. We know they're there. They are underwater. This is not unusual for the NTSB. We have many times recovered flight data recorders in water.
And what's really going to be interesting, you just heard moments ago President Trump talking, Will, about the altitude, the height that the helicopter and the regional jet were traveling, and why perhaps the helicopter didn't see the jet. A lot of questions here. The NTSB saying that they're going to, quote, take as long as it takes to get to the answers, to find out what happened, why it happened, and how they can make sure it never happens again. We're also finally, I'll just mention, learning a lot of the tragic personal details of the crew aboard that helicopter and on that jet. The mother of two, a father of two, and 14 members of the U.S. skating team, to include also 2 Russian skating coaches, of which were participating in the Olympics. A lot of questions right now. We'll bring you more as we get it, Will.
All right, no surprise. Excellent coverage, Griff Jenkins. On that note, absolutely phenomenal coverage here on the Fox Network from journalists like Trace Gallagher, John Roberts, John Scott, many others. And I want to pick up on where they've left off on many of their questions starting last night and today. Let's bring in Dr. Jeff Edwards. He's a former U.S. Navy A6 navigator, and he's an aircraft accident investigator for over 25 years. Thank you so much for being with us. I want to pick up right there from what we heard from Secretary Hegseth, an elevation issue. From what I've understood, this is an extremely busy corridor right there along the Potomac in front of Reagan National Airport. But the helicopter, from what I understood, should have been flying somewhere under 200 feet, and then they could have observed with visual flight rules at that point, and they would have been looking for something, perhaps the inbound American flight. But if there's an elevation issue, does that mean they were somewhere north of that ceiling, 300, 400 feet?
Yeah, Will, that's correct. The VFR corridor specifies at or below 200 feet, and it also shows on the chart that they should have been closer to the riverbank on the Maryland side.
Okay, so they were already outside of the zone where they were under VFR, visual flight restriction rules. They were higher elevated than that ceiling. And then there's talk about night vision goggles. I don't think we know yet with certainty whether or not the pilots of the helicopter were wearing night vision goggles, but everyone has suggested that would have restricted their ability to see everything around them, at least their peripheral vision.
Right, so the night vision goggles,
well, we're back here again today, 5:36.
have two issues here. They restrict the field of view, i.e.
yesterday we were down with the dentist. Monday we were down with the dentist, and his name was it was a Riverside Dental, and
it really
Christian,
doesn't work well
I think,
in that situation.
Okay, I want to ask you one more thing about using vision as a way of spotting potential aircraft collisions. From what I understand,
Zint,
I don't know if it's a directly
Z-I-N-T,
head-on
Christian
collision,
Zint,
but the two aircraft, the American flight and the Black Hawk helicopter, seem to be heading
Riverside
toward one
Dental
another,
there, and
which even in daylight,
right inside the Pendleton County line.
is difficult.
Did the work on my teeth where they were broke on the permanent fixture and on the chip off
so you've got the
crown.
problem, you've got night vision goggle problems, and now you
So that
also
we'll have to get worked on eventually.
in front of you headed straight towards you.
From the accident. So today, get the shoulder shot in the shoulder with some steroids.
It's really good at picking up an object that crosses in front of you. Okay, it's not really good at identifying an object that is fixed right in front of you that is moving. We see this in everyday life. We just don't, understand it really well. The pilots understand it better because they're trying to find
accidents will happen, and it's a terrible accident with this helicopter and the plane.
Background lighting that
worse than 15 years.
The question of whether
it's
or
just
not
terrible.
that's an airplane or that's just a blinking light on a tower or a building.
Now, really quickly, Dr. Edwards, one last question. Then there's also this question of whether or not a third plane played a factor into what the helicopter pilots may have been looking at. Air traffic control suggested, do you see the regional flight? But there was one taking off as well from Reagan. Do you see anything to that they might have been looking at a flight taking off instead of a flight inbound landing at Reagan?
Yeah, that's not uncommon. It's happened to me, misidentifying an aircraft that has been pointed out to you, and you see another one that's in close proximity, and you think that the one that you've been instructed to follow is actually not the one you're looking at, so that becomes a problem. The big problem here for the agencies, the administration, is what are we going to do going forward to prevent this from happening again? Because we've already put in place regulations and technology to prevent this, but of course those fail.
Right. That'll be a tough question for many of my friends and now people helping to ensure this doesn't happen well into the future. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, just one day on the job. Dr. Jeff Edwards, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Will.
This absolute disaster, you bet, shows the serious need for President Trump's cabinet picks to be confirmed quickly.
And get it done. It's shameful that they're taking all this time. And it's nothing but the Democrats just making fools of themselves. How ridiculous that they are making all of these innuendos and accusations and lies. It's just shameful. Get on with the business. It's the president not elected. The election's over. He's entitled to his appointees. And they need to be in position and doing their work and not going through a bunch of reckless hearings, but for political reasons.
Alexa, TV, or other internet-connected devices. A question from Search Kings.
Return the country to godly principles.
Digital advertising. Are you blindfolded, spraying wildly, not knowing what hits and what misses, but paying for all of it anyway? Or the Search Kings approach, using call intelligence, evaluating, summarizing, and scoring every incoming call, so you'll know the most profitable leads, what generated them, and your true return on investment.
Junction 1936. Coming up.
To Search Kings.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Now, if a family member or friend asked you for financial advice or where to go for tax help, what would you send them?
We're on 536, which eventually will be go all the way from over here in Campbell County right over to the Boone County line and all through Boone County.
You need to call my friend friends at
There's the
Rush
bridge here.
Tax Resolution today.
Schneider Bridge, across the Licking River.
A lot worse and put you, your family, and/or your company in jeopardy. There are a lot of imposters out there, but Rush Tax Resolution.
Right down to the railroad tracks.
I trust and recommend. They're A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They have protected so many of my listeners from tax disasters and saved them a ton of money. Call Rush Tax now for a free IRS transcript investigation, and they'll tell you upfront and for free if they can help you. They will only take your case if they know
3
they
miles
can help
down
you,
there's
period.
a
800
St. Matthew's Church and Redmond's Farm and Winery.
RushTaxResolution.com.
Today we'll stay on 536 and go all the way up 536.
Using water from any tap in our home with a life source whole house system.
Miss June being our pilot today.
Ready for anything from baby bottles to bath time. Plus no regular filter changes, no fuss, just clean water throughout the entire house. You deserve water that performs at its peak. So call 1-800-WATER-99 or visit lifesourcewater.com.
Right down here's where that Biologyju church is that Judy was baptized in.
Activities performed by a licensed affiliate. I had no idea I could sell my life insurance policy. Norman and Nancy Dugan.
If you turn left back there, you go right down to that Biologyju Baptist Church.
Because premiums have become expensive. Our kids are doing well on their
From our
own,
trip
so
down
we just
to
don't need it anymore.
Louisville, Kentucky,
They were so
where we gave our lives to the Lord in 1956 at Billy Graham Crusade.
$1,000 or more of life insurance, you may qualify. After this past
Thanks to the wonderful drivers. Oh boy, this is got the crooked little 536 road here. Ooh, mercy.
Coventry Direct has helped thousands live the life they
Glad
want to
June's driving.
for unplanned medical expenses or supplement retirement income. When it comes to selling your life insurance,
Vernon Lincolns, Carl Covey, John Grizel, and Walter Roden, the deacons that went with us, and
you can get cash by selling your life insurance.
Brother Kerger, the pastor, and his wife Polly, Judy Lynn Stephenson Felty, first grade teacher for many years, and I, John Stevenson, rode down to Louisville to hear Billy Graham preach. It's the Holy Spirit's job to convict, God's job to judge, and my job to love. And learn the song, I'd Rather Have Jesus and How Great Thou Art, from George Beverly Shea and Cliff Barrows, the choir director.
SiriusXM, or enter code SiriusXM online to get 15% off your first order. That's ARMRA.com, code SiriusXM. That's tryarmra.com.
Now this brings us up in the Staffordsburg area.
SiriusXM online to get 15% off your first order. That's
Down here somewhere on the left is where Stanley Ledford still lives. June?
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Mike Jekyll here, Patriot Software's founder.
It's a beautiful home, isn't it?
Was in the basement of a factory. We had no heat, no air conditioning. Our only office visitors were rats, birds, flies, and snakes. We used blankets as our office walls. When the floors would flood, we'd have to write software while sitting on top of our desks. It took us 4 years to earn a normal paycheck after quitting our corporate jobs. We know how hard it is to start a business. That's why Patriot Software charges so little for our accounting and payroll software.
President Trump's pick for FBI Director Kash Patel, front and center on Capitol Hill today. He's backed by most Republicans who expect he'll come in and make major changes. He said he would, and Democrats, they're not happy about that.
Could he just answer the question if he said that the FBI headquarters, where they investigate cybercrime and terrorism, should be shut down and open as a deep state, as a museum? Did he say that the headquarters should be shut down? Mr. Chair, I deserve an answer to that question.
If the best attacks on me are going to be false accusations and grotesque mischaracterizations, the only thing this body is doing is defeating the credibility of the men and women at the FBI. I stood with them here in this country. In every theater of war we have, I was on the ground in service of this nation. And any accusations leveled against me that I would somehow put political bias before the Constitution are grotesquely unfair. And I will have you reminded that I have been endorsed by over 300,000 law enforcement officers to become the next director of the FBI. Let's ask them.
Patel also detailing threats he has personally faced since his January 6th testimony.
Have you ever been subject to racism as an individual?
Unfortunately, Senator, yes. I don't want to get into those details of my family here.
Oh, let's get into a few of them. Tell me about it.
Well, if you look at the record from January 6th, where I testified before that committee, because of my personal information being released by Congress, I was subjected to a direct and significant threat on my life. And I put that information in the record. I had to move. But that's nothing compared to what the men and women in law enforcement face every day. And that's why they have my support.
My next guest is someone who knows Kash Patel very well. He's former Congressman Devin Nunes. Kash was his lead staff investigator for the House Intelligence Committee in what ultimately became the Russia collusion hoax, and Devin Nunes joins me now. Devin, thanks for being with us. What did you think about, not just the way Kash testified today, but what you heard from the United States senators?
Well, it depends which one. I thought that Chairman Grassley did a great job. I thought that Kash Patel took tough questions, which the Senate has a right to ask those tough questions, and the American people got to see and learn a lot about Kash and his background. Everybody that's worked with him closely knows that he does an excellent job. He's an excellent job at investigating, which, by the way, that's what the FBI needs to get back to doing, is actually investigating, going after criminals. I would say, Will, that Adam Schiff, the American people lost him in the United States House of Representatives. That was a gain for the House of Representatives. But I think the Democratic senators are now realizing that the circus has come to them. And I thought Adam Schiff was an embarrassment, like he normally is. He clearly has an axe to grind with Kash Patel, because it was Kash and our team that made a mockery of this guy year after year after year for lying to the American people, and the audacity that he has to go down additional conspiracy theory routes to tarnish Kash's reputation after he already participated, as Kash said there in his testimony. He was the one responsible for leaking Kash's information out, where Kash became a target.
Well, let's do this. Let's share with the audience perhaps an illustration of what you're talking about when it comes to Senator Adam Schiff. Watch.
So you're being considered for director of the FBI, and here you did no diligence to find out whether people you were associating with now the President of the United States in song were convicted of attacking police officers. Is that who we want running the FBI? I want you to turn around. There are Capitol Police officers behind you. They're guarding us. Take a look at them right now. Turn around.
I'm looking at you. You're talking to me.
No, look at them. I want you to look at them if you can, if you have the courage to look them in the eye, Mr. Patel, and tell them you're proud of what you did. Tell them you're proud that you raised money off of people that assaulted their colleagues, that pepper sprayed them, that beat them with poles. Tell them
what
you're
a
proud
joke.
of what you did, Mr.
This
Patel.
guy is a
They're right there.
jackass.
They're guarding you today. Tell them how proud you are.
That's an abject lie, and you know it. I've never
It's a lie that he's telling.
accepted violence against law enforcement.
I'm looking at you, you're looking at me. Kash, whom I've met and you know well, is intense. There was a question, believe it or not, Devin, there was a question buried in that rant by Adam Schiff, and the question is that who we want running the FBI? I'll ask you, what qualities and what goals and purposes need to be executed in who we want to run the FBI?
Well, it definitely needs to take a change in a different direction from where it's been. I mean, I think it was stated many times the FBI is at an all-time low today in terms of the people's confidence level in them. So I think Kash brings a level of understanding, both being on the prosecution side, where he prosecuted a terrorist. He served in the House of Representatives as a lead investigator for us, but also then went on and served in the administration. But people forget early in his career, he actually was on the other side, and he defended criminals. So he knew what it was like when the FBI or DOJ or others overstepped their bounds. And I think what you saw today with it's the example I was saying of what a circus that Adam Schiff brings to the United States Senate. And there was another example of it where he himself is sitting there lying about Kash Patel when he knows the reason he doesn't like Kash Patel is because for years Kash uncovered Adam Schiff's lies
And now he was exposing him there today, where, I mean, just the fact that with Schiff to be able to say that Kash was making money, I mean, that's outrageous. Kash Patel had a nonprofit that was generating money to help people in need, including people in uniform. So Schiff knows that this is a lie. Look, I think that it won't take long before the United States Senate, the Democrat senators included, you could see it there today, that they're going to get sick of Adam Schiff and they're going to be sad that he entered the U.S. Senate. And I think it was on display.
You mentioned the lack of trust in the FBI. That's an all-time low. We have that number, actually. It was brought up today by Kash Patel. It's 41%. That's the number of American people that today have faith, confidence in the FBI. Hopefully that can be restored with Kash Patel. Devin Nunes, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks.
1 hour. That's about it. 1 hour, maybe 2. Sean Duffy was on the job before that tragic accident last night in D.C. 2.5 days for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, highlighting the necessity to get President Trump's cabinet picks confirmed immediately. So in that vein, Kash Patel was not the only big hearing today.
You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States.
That was President Trump's pick for Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, in her opening statement.
An excellent pick.
That she is loyal as evidenced by her service to her country. Senators say they have concerns surrounding her views on Edward Snowden, FISA, or her meeting with Bashar al-Assad. Take a listen.
As you know, there has been speculation in the press that you met with Hezbollah, a terrorist organization affiliated with Iran. Have you ever knowingly met with any members, leaders, or affiliates of Hezbollah?
No, and it is an absurd accusation. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack.
Her hearing moved to a closed, classified setting after a public hearing earlier. My next guest is a former Navy SEAL and one of the members from the intelligence community who signed a letter urging senators to confirm Tulsi. Eric Prince joins me now. Eric, let's start, I think, with a bit of defense, but I don't think it's the right place to have this conversation. Still, we'll lay down the runway. Tulsi's patriotism seemed to be questioned by United States senators. After, I believe it is 22 years of service, they have questions about her allegiance to the United States of America.
Look, these are the same people that have never lifted a finger to actually serve their country or to go to a difficult, dangerous place and put their neck on the line. The most dangerous thing they do is walk down the halls of the Senate office building. It's ridiculous. Tulsi is to be lauded for questioning the nonsense of the deep state, and that's why the deep state pushes back in every way it can, including with its paid and bought for spokespeople here in the Senate to try to block her. There needs to be accountability of our intelligence community. It is run amok, and the incompetence, graft, and corruption has been hiding behind classification for too long, and Tulsi needs to be confirmed.
And I've seen others point out, Eric, that Tulsi's personal experience with the intelligence community makes her the perfect candidate. She knows the power of intelligence through her military service, and she also knows the power of intelligence when it can be used in a weaponized manner, because it's been used against her. She's been placed on a no-fly list and so forth. So having someone who has experienced both sides of that adds for a really unique perspective at DNI.
Well, you know, Pete Hegseth will make a great SecDef because he's had to live with the bad decisions made by armchair generals and politicians back in Washington. Tulsi Gabbard will make a great DNI because she has to live with bad intelligence and bloated bureaucracy making wrong decisions, including putting her on a no-fly list. It's insane that these people are throwing stones at her. They're all living in a very big glass house.
Last question for you, Eric. You're part of a group of people who've been a member of what we would call the intelligence community who support Tulsi Gabbard for D&I. There are others, like some of those on the 51 intelligence community members list who have now had their classified status revoked by President Trump, who famously said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. They do not seem to support Tulsi Gabbard. What's the difference between you and people like you that support her and those people of the intelligence community?
People like me are sick of the incompetence and the nonsense that's become the hallmark of our intelligence community, of the politicization and overreach. If for people to call Tulsi Gabbard unqualified, they really should look at Avril Haines, who was Obama and Biden's DNI person. The only thing she was qualified for is she was a lawyer, and she used to have a coffee house in Baltimore with erotic poetry night on Tuesdays. I mean, that's literally the level of nonsense that the Democrats put forward to these kind of positions of key national security, putting Tulsi forward as a veteran who understands intelligence, the need to clean up the analysis, and the nonsense that's become what it is. She must be confirmed. Absolutely, every way.
Not unlike the confirmation hearing for Pete Hegseth, I did notice today over her right shoulder, Tulsi Gabbard had Navy SEALs in support of her in that gallery today. And here's another one, Eric Prince, someone who might know, member of the intelligence community, founder of Blackwater, friend of the Will Kane Show. Thank you so much, Eric.
Guys, honey, you need to sit down, or you'll spook them. I'm trying to, hun.
Okay. Yeah, out there.
Do you want it, or?
how the families feel that this might help goes out to them. The second thing I want to say is that it was amazing. The president came out, showed up with transportation,